You know what Greg just said? He said, kick ass. You know why he said that? Because we got a Nebraska helmet here for the show. So I want whoever sent that to me, and I apologize because you probably told me a couple weeks ago that it was coming. I know that somebody did. So I want you to identify yourself because I don't know where these helmets come from unless you let me know. So we want to give proper due and proper credit to whoever's responsible. And I tried to place it at the most positioned place that for the remainder of the show, once we size it up with the 2-shot, and I'll get it in better position that finally for our 61st edition of Nebraska Cornhuskers Live, bam, we've got the helmet on the set.
Love it.
How you doing tonight, Greg?
I'm doing good. Had a busy day today and a lot of pain involved with my back, but we made it through, and Huskers are back at practice again finally, and stuck around for the whole pro day here in Lincoln too to see all the prospective NFL guys perform, and so it's been a pretty good day. Finally have some stuff to talk about after a week off.
So when you've got a full day like today with practice and a pro day, and you got to lug around that equipment, what are you doing for your back?
Not much. It was unfortunately it was doing a lot better, and then I woke up this morning and it was down in my leg, and so it was pretty rough trying to walk, especially in I don't know, it must have been about 40, 50 mile an hour winds blowing and snow and rain, and it wasn't fun, I'll tell you that. Okay,
well, lift with your legs and do all those things. That's about all I can give you. Stretch.
I mean, I go to, I see the chiropractor 3 days a week right now, so I'm working on it. But it was one of those mornings when you wake up, it's like, oh no.
Yeah, that's no fun.
Why did it have to be today? And my wife's a doctor, and she thinks it has something to do with the weather, actually, which could be, since it was 80 degrees yesterday, and now it's in the low 30s, and it's not pleasant outside.
It's quite the dip.
Yep.
All right, folks, leave your comments and your questions. As usual, you know the deal. When it comes right down to it, Greg and I we'll talk for an hour, but you might as well get in your comments and questions and help us produce the show. So do just that. So practice, you got a look at that today, and pro day.
We did.
So yeah. I will let you take us through your Tuesday.
Well, I mean, we had post practice. They're, like I said, they finally got back to practice after being off for all last week of spring break. So we got to hear from who'd we hear from today? It's been such a long day, I can't even remember at this point. No, Mickey Joseph, wide receivers coach and special teams coordinator, Bill Bush, and inside linebackers coach Barrett Ruud all talked. And then we had a handful of players, about 5 players, that also talked with us after practice. So kind of found, kind of saw how or learned what it was like for them to get back on the field after a week. And I thought one of the biggest takeaways was Bill Bush was talking that, I mentioned the weather and the strong winds that were blowing and the rain that was coming down. It wasn't much snow, but just a few flurries. But Bill Bush had those guys outside, had the guys kicking and punting and all the special teams out there, getting used. He said, it's like we don't have a wind machine here, so you got to take advantage of the elements when you can. So he had those guys getting after it, and it's kind of great to hear that, and hear from him, especially the guy is just he's just balls to the wall. He's 100% go. He's got that attitude, and he brings the energy for sure. And I think that's a pretty darn good trait to have, especially when he's talking about a unit that has been floundering around here for several years, not just under Coach Frost, but it's going back a ways. So, yeah, it was really interesting, and he's such a he's such a down to earth guy and just tells it like it is, and that was great to hear. And then and you top that on top of talking to some, we talked to some wide receivers today, and about their new wide receiver coach Mickey Joseph, and got some insight there too. It was pretty cool that Mickey come in right away. First thing he said to those guys when he introduced himself to them, he's like, "I don't F around," and that's his attitude. And so talking to the guys several times, come up with, he brings the dog out in me. So yeah, these guys are loving his coaching style, and I think you're going to see some big changes. When you see this product on the field, just with some of this fire and passion that's going on in the program right now. So that was kind of interesting to see. And then, like you mentioned, straight after that, pro day started. They started off in the weight room and did their thing in there, and so then we went over to the Hawks Center and got to watch the guys go through all the the NFL Combine stuff. And I think there were most NFL scouts there for a pro day that I've seen probably in 8 years or so. I mean, there was a ton of scouts here, a lot of guys participating, and up in their draft stock a little bit. And so that was really interesting, to sit there and watch all the watch them all run their 40s and do all their position group, and doing the shuttle and the agility shuttle, the pro agility shuttle, and then all their position group workouts and stuff. So it was a good day. Then got a chance to catch up with several of those guys after their workouts were over, and got all their thoughts on their time in Indianapolis for the combine, and then going through their pro day. And it really is, you find out some really fascinating things about what these guys go through during this whole process. So it's been it was a long day, but it's been a really interesting day, and really gathered a lot of valuable information today.
Apparently 28 teams showed up for pro day.
Was that how many?
So
wow.
That's what I'm seeing here. Yeah.
Oh, some of them had, and some of them had multiple. I mean, I know New York Jets, I saw, had a couple of different scouts, one female scout, and then a younger looking guy. So yeah, there was several teams that had more than one scout too. So it was good to see.
So Cam Jurgens, Austin Allen, JoJo Doman, Cam Taylor-Britt on the defensive side. You had Samori Toure.
Yep.
Also Damian Daniels on the defensive side. Deontay Williams as well. That's the list I've got here.
Yeah, that pretty much sums it up. There were a few other guys taking place in it from other schools, local schools here as well. So it was pretty nice to see, and then to catch up with those guys afterward. So it was a good day. I know, and Torrey, I know, is a guy that he got snubbed for the combine, so he had something to prove, and he ran about a 4.4 40 today too. So he looked good there, and obviously he's a very impressive route runner and has great hands. So I think he's a very underrated guy coming into the draft this year that a lot of people might be overlooking at this point. Even guys like Mel Kiper, Todd McShay, might not have him pinned right now. So it was good to see that.
It's been a long time since I've been to a pro day, and I've only been to a few. When they take those measurements, like let's say the 40, do they post that somewhere, or do you have to go find out?
They it's like the coaches all get that information right away, and they give it to us. So yeah, it's kind of a running thing. You keep getting the updates on everybody's times and whatever they benched and all that stuff. So yeah, you know what you know what they have. You definitely know what you have, what they have. I mean,
From the numbers you saw, and I know that you were working on kind of a different angle based on your role there with Husker Online, but was there anything that jumped out or popped?
see, I was still working a little bit, so I wasn't in the weight room, and you weren't allowed to have video or photos in the weight room, and only one person per outlet was allowed in there because of you know, size constraints. But you know, the rest of it, it's really it's interesting to watch. You know how it really is just like the NFL Combine, and um, you have the scouts there, and a lot of the scouts are out there coaching as well, and telling them what how to go through the drills and stuff, and um, it's kind of neat that some of the guys that took part in the combine obviously already knew the drills and stuff like that, so they're using that to their advantage of already kind of knowing what they're expecting to see, and just kind of working on their tests and everything, and working on getting better. And I think Cam Jurgens to me is a guy that obviously that I watched grow up, and play in high school as a tight end and as a H back, fullback, a guy that had the ball in his hands most of the time for his Beatrice High School team that turned into a center. And you can tell when you see him go through those combine drills that you can tell that he's got that skill position, technique down, and the ability as a skill guy to. But he's going to be a center, and it really shows. And I mean, he's bulked himself up quite a bit, and he really looks the part. And I thought he looked really impressive out there today, as well as I think JoJo Doman also looked really good. Very, very technical and smooth. And it was kind of funny. We'd asked JoJo about what NFL teams are telling him, about position wise, and he says they're all asking him the same question: is where do you see yourself playing? And he's telling them all. He's like, hey, I'll play wherever you want me to play. I mean, pretty much the same thing that you hear from these guys throughout their careers, if it's high school or college. They're willing to do anything to get on the field and play. And it's so obvious, and even when they don't say it, but how much football means to these guys. It's their life, and it's hard to put that aside and think that I'm not going to play football anymore because it's such a big deal, and the passion that comes through, that the love of the game is just, I mean, it just oozes out of these guys. You just see it. You just see it. So yeah, it's great to see these guys, in this kind of setting, and know that, their whole future is ahead of them, and they've got a great opportunity here, and they're not going to do anything to screw that up right now.
And it's got to be different in terms of them trying to process what they've experienced their whole lives, which has been on the football field, that they're the best player on the field or one of the best players on the field, whether that be in grade school, junior high, up through the ranks. And then even making the jump, for as much of a jump as it is from high school to the Big Ten, still most of them, we're talking about the best of the best in this program that are getting tested on pro day. So we're talking about guys that generally knew that they belonged in the Big Ten. And we're not talking about guys that scraped by and did their very best just to make a roster at a Big Ten school. We're talking about guys that, again, were star players, knew that they were being recruited and signed, and if they worked their butt off, that they belonged. So you got to feel that there might be a little bit more, I don't know if desperation is the right word. I don't want to phrase it wrong, but in terms of, this is the first time maybe they've had a challenge that, this will be the end of the line. I will never play football again if I don't make this step. And I really have to impress these guys. I really have to. I am truly now going up against the best of the best.
Yeah, I think they know that. I mean, when they're doing this, here, it's all about they're just happy to be back home and around their teammates and their brothers. I mean, they all mentioned how great it was to be here and to be at practice this morning and see their brothers out there and see what's going on. Yet they know they're interviewing for a job, and you know I didn't, for any of these guys I talked to, there wasn't any kind of desperation that I could see at all. I mean, everything they've all embraced it, and I think some of them even understand that maybe if I don't get drafted or I don't sign a deal with an NFL team as an undrafted free agent, there's still other avenues of football left out there. We see that USFL, like they're debuting here in at Easter. And there's former Huskers on those teams' rosters. So there's still football to be got, and if it's your dream to play, I don't think you're going to give up that dream when you're that close as you are right now, as being a guy that has been chosen to participate at a pro day. So, yeah, it's just another step in the whole process for these guys. And like I said, they've all embraced it. And we're talking about every single one of these guys that was in pro day today are all high caliber guys, high character guys. And even if football doesn't work out for them, they all have bright futures.
Keep in mind, folks, we're here every day basically posting content, but we're here specifically with Greg, of course, to do the live show every Tuesday at 6 o'clock Central Time. So please tell people that that love college football, of course, the Huskers first and foremost, but love college football, that we're here talking Nebraska football every Tuesday. So let's get some more people on board each and every week. And also keep in mind that we could use your support in any way. Thumbs up, super chat, share the links, go out on social media, Facebook, Twitter, etc., and spread the word. All right. I see a couple questions on here, and I'm going to combine two of them because they're kind of similar in terms of, and it seems as though the two questions are focused on just today's practice. Well, it's hard to get much out of just today's practice. So let's group it all together based on from the time they went to practice 2 weeks ago all the way through to today. Based on everything that you've gathered, what has stood out on offense, what has stood out on defense? Has there been anybody in particular as of yet that has stood out on both sides of the ball?
Offensively, I keep hearing a lot of Trey Palmer come up. That's impressed a lot of people. That's for sure. Defensively, a lot of people talking about Chris Kolarevic, moving into that Joe Joman spot and, performing at a very high level too. So those are the two names I've heard the most mentioned by everybody. So yeah, I mean, easy answer to that when I haven't been able to witness anything myself yet. But they've only had 6 practices so far too, so it's kind of hard to tell at this point. But obviously, you hear a lot of high praise about the quarterback play, especially Casey Thompson. So that's obviously something that you like to hear if you're a Nebraska fan. So those are the two names that pretty much have been sticking out to me so far on the offensive side of the ball, and I know like as a group collectively, the running back spot, obviously. So yeah, a lot of different pieces there too. So, and I think I saw a question there. The Brody Belt's been talked about a lot. Yeah, but he's a guy, he's a utility guy, and he's a baller. That's the attitude that he's got. He's a coach. He's a coach's dream. So I think any new coach that comes and has a guy like that, he's going to love him. But obviously there's other more talented or physically gifted players at that position that he's at wide receiver right now. Former running back. We'll see. I mean, like I said, coaches all love. I've never heard a coach say a bad word about Brody Belt in high school or in college. So it'd be great, if he could be a guy that contributes, on a every game level. That's great. But there's also a lot of competition at the spot that he's in right now.
Hey, look at this. We got a super sticker from Steven. Appreciate you, man. Thanks for being here. Thank you for the support there. There's usually 3 wide receivers on the field, Greg. I don't know that it really matters. Do you think it matters who's supposed to be the number 1 receiver? Our guy, Jose's throwing out, of course, Trey Palmer and Omar Manning.
Yeah, I think those are going to be your 1-2 punch, obviously. And that's a hard question to answer. I think that kind of depends on the team. I mean, obviously, if you look at, for last year as an example, I would say, and use the Green Bay Packers and as an example there. But whoops, that all of a sudden he's now in Las Vegas. So I think it does matter. For some teams to have that guy labeled as your number 1, if he's a beast, that everybody knows that's your guy. For a team like Nebraska, I don't think that's that important. I think you just want guys to contribute and have, several guys that can contribute at a high level. Because you do want to be able to spread it around. But it doesn't hurt to have that big time guy that's going to draw that attention, that defensive attention. Omar Manning was that guy that came in here with that kind of reputation, and now you add a Trey Palmer on that, who's a former 5-star. So I think all of a sudden, defenses are going to be looking at those 2 guys first, and that might open up some other opportunities for some other guys. A guy that we talked to today that we hadn't heard from in a while was Alante Brown, and he's been having himself a pretty good spring so far. And he another guy that just loves Mickey Joseph in here, and is saying that Mickey Joseph has turned him into a beast now, and has really brought out the animal inside of him and stuff. So maybe Alante Brown finally gets a chance to be one of those guys that steps up and becomes one of those playmakers that they've been looking for as well. So a lot we're going to find out here, obviously, in the next 3 weeks, and then kind of see how it all comes together here for the spring game, and see what we have to work with moving into fall camp.
How many times has Frost and the coordinators spoken to the media?
Just once so far since day one. Coach Frost will talk to us on Thursday, and then a couple other the assistants. Then we'll get coordinators again next week. So, and obviously, I know there's a lot of questions bouncing around there about injuries and everything, and nobody's allowed to talk about that except for the head man. So I'm 100% sure that those injury questions are going to be addressed without even a question being asked first thing on Thursday. And I will confirm that Thomas Fedoni is done. He suffered another injury in that scrimmage. It's not, like I said, Coach Frost has not addressed that yet, but it's obviously been out there for a while, and it's unfortunate.
Yeah, to see somebody that talented with their entire career ahead of them and not being able to get it started, even at this point.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. 2 years in a row for a great great kid like that loves the game so much that, well, I don't know how you make it through 2 years in a row of not being able to do the thing that you love.
So Tim's a USC fan, and if a USC fan can come in here and scold everybody for only 14 likes out of all the Husker fans, so we've got about 60 watching right now, and that doesn't even tell the whole story because we've had over 100 people in the stream and we've got 14 likes. So it takes a split second to hit the like button. So at least do that for us to support the show. Thanks for being here, Tim. Appreciate you.
Yep. Always do.
Samuel's here. Good to see all the regulars as well. You know, during the season, we all get to see the games. So if the coach is not going to be completely honest about the performance, then of course we can hold them accountable because we watch the games. But it's kind of interesting during spring practice because different coaches take different approaches. Some will, who knows, they could be watching the worst spring practice ever and they're not going to let that be known. There's no reason to talk about it. There's no reason to emphasize that. But then others will be brutally honest and let you know what they think and what needs serious work and what's been disappointing. So we'll hear what Scott Frost's latest is on Thursday.
Yeah, he'll also. I know there's been at least one departure from the team too that he'll address as well. That I won't say who that is right now, but it's unfortunate.
All right. Yeah, we just did an Iowa live stream. One of their rotational players along the offensive line who was a projected starter, Cody Ince. He had to step down, and that was announced by the university today due to, I believe, what were just recurring injuries and just getting to a point in his career where he decided to step away.
Yeah, sometimes depending on the factors, sometimes football is just not in the cards anymore for some guys.
I actually am a little surprised that doesn't happen more often because there's two reasons why these guys play. In addition to loving the game and wanting to play, there's two practical reasons. One is if they can reach the next level and earn a paycheck. Number two is obviously they're good enough to get a scholarship at a university, so they get a free ride and they set themselves up for a career by trading their football skills for a scholarship. But once that's wrapped up, once they can see the light at the end of the tunnel and they're almost done with their eligibility and maybe they've just been beaten up and had a ton of injuries and they know they're not good enough to get to the NFL, I'm sometimes surprised that there aren't more guys that make that decision.
Well, yeah, and think about a lot of guys that probably didn't want to go play college football, but were kind of pressured into it by either peers or family or what have you. But maybe their heart just was never in it. So you never know.
Greg's going to keep us hanging. All right.
I'm not allowed. I am not allowed.
He only does that when he has to. So I know not to badger him because
I'm just trying to sugarcoat a bad situation that you're going to hear about. So just trying to cushion the blow a little bit.
Yep. Huskers talk every day here at the Voice of College Football, and head on over to Greg's channel right here on YouTube.
I will
Husker
say that
online video.
Yeah, I will say this, that there's plenty of depth there in at that position, and I'll just leave it at that.
Okay. All right, folks.
Gives you reason to tune in Thursday morning after Coach Frost talks, and I'll have that video up as soon as he gets done speaking to the media. So jump on Husker Online on the YouTube channel, and you can it'll be the first thing that first one or two things that comes out of his mouth.
Colin, we appreciate you being here, and thank you so much for being a loyal viewer and listener. And we're glad that we can be a bright spot in your week. So thank you so much for the comment there.
Yeah, we definitely appreciate that, and love having you.
The chef. Man, I could use a chef right about now. Are you still optimistic about the season, even with some bad news?
Of course, yeah, of course. None of the bad news has affected my outlook for the season at all. I'm confident. I'm very confident and very optimistic with the changes that have been made and a lot of the new faces that are around. That I think they're moving in the right direction. Definitely.
It's going to be a fascinating season. I'll say that, because it's almost logistically, mathematically impossible to play at the level that they played last year and lose every game by one score. And lose by one score to some kind of marginal teams, but then lose by one score to some of the best teams in the country. and just so I'm going to call it for what it is. I'm not going to say this team's going to win a Big Ten championship or anything like that, but I think they can contend for the West. I think it's possible. I don't think they're near the top of the list out of the gate, but there's nobody on the Western Division side that should blow everybody else away. I think it's a fascinating division. I think it's balanced. I think it's basically, aside from Illinois and Northwestern, and they can on occasion play with anyone. Illinois beat Nebraska and Minnesota this year, and we know that Northwestern's been good in the past, very recently. That the other five teams are really good. They're not great, but they're really good, and they have talent. And I got to think that this is about a 7-5 football team right now.
Yeah, we're gonna find out, and I think the key is to start the season off right. Come out of the gate and win those games and have positive momentum. Going into say week 4. So you're not behind the 8 ball already, like what has happened here. It seems like every year lately. So yeah, I think if they get off to a good start, then who knows? Who knows what the ceiling is that after that? Because you get Oklahoma here at home, and if you can be 4-0, who knows what's going to happen? So that's my big key, is that start, and to get one of those signature wins as well. I mean, to get a win against a program like Oklahoma would I think do tons for their momentum and their state of mind, and maybe you see them win those 1-score games instead of losing them all.
Yeah, I would in no way. They just played too well against too good a teams for me to question their determination, their attitude, their effort level, both on the field on game day, but also in preparation. They just played too well and hung with those teams. But the difference in your mindset and confidence level when, let's say, you're 5-1 instead of 1-5, even if you're the same team and you performed roughly the same, once you start to turn the trick in the last few minutes of a game to pull out some of those games, and you have the experience and the confidence of knowing that you can do it, and things have turned your way, and you're just not continually, we just lost by 3, we lost by 4, what's going to happen this time? And that's only human nature, that doubt comes into your mind when you've seen it happen over and over and over and over again.
Yeah, I think diehard Nebraska fans understand that, and they feel that same frustration of watching their team have to go through that week in and week out. And it almost seems like, I don't know, God's against Nebraska for some reason, that, all these weird scenarios always seem to pop up and and snatch victory away from a team that desperately needs a victory. So, yeah, maybe it just takes a little bit of karma and changes things around. We'll see. But you're obviously right. There's no questioning, their passion and their want to win. I mean, the effort obviously is above and beyond the effort I see those guys put in, which wasn't always like that in previous years. So, like I said, and then and then some of these the coaches that they added that I'm hearing up and down the board about just the attitude that go on, with all these new coaches on the offensive side of the ball. So, and when you got coaches that are passionate, it rubs off on the players, and you can't help to take on that that attitude that your coach has. And like I said, I really like what I'm seeing right now. And I brought up Bill Bush earlier and Mickey Joseph earlier, but Brian Applewhite as well has a lot of praise going his way too about how tough nose of a coach he is and demanding. That's the one thing that I'm hearing most is about these guys are very demanding, and it's bringing the best out of the players. And a lot of them across the board are saying they need a guy like that to kind of light that fire under you. Under Coach Frost's coaching staff since he's been here, the wide receiver group has not actually had a wide receiver coach per se. It's always been the offensive coordinator. Now they have an actual wide receiver coach that gets it. And to a T, I mean, everybody that talks about Mickey, obviously I've talked to him in person, and the guy is such an impressive guy. And that's why guys are very successful under him. He doesn't recruit and then develop guys, turn them into first-round draft picks in the NFL for no reason. He's pretty good at what he does. So, yeah, I overall just love the attitude, that the big change in the attitude. And, heck, you got to start somewhere, and I think they've started in the right spot.
So not to belabor a point, but I'm going to just state it this way, because I do think I despite the 3-9, I give these guys a ton of credit, because if you look at Ohio State, Oklahoma, Michigan State, especially Ohio State, they're beating 2/3 of the Big Ten by 30 or 40 points. They're beating teams that had much better records than Nebraska. Maryland, they beat them by 50 points. They beat Indiana by 50 points. So if you don't have the buy-in and the effort and the determination and the preparation and all that, and you're Nebraska and you're going up against, especially Ohio State, but against all those teams, you're going to lose by 30 or 40 points. So they obviously never gave up.
Yep. I never saw any give up in that team last year at all. And that's something to hang your hat on. It's what you want to see, and good things happen if you keep playing that way. So, and you know what, that experience that they gained being able to play top teams like that, nose to nose, that's going to rub off for next year, obviously, for the returning players. So, and now you kind of have to reload your leadership and and put your trust in some new guys. But like I've said, I like a lot of these new pieces that they've added, and it will be interesting to see how it all fits together here. And obviously when they go out there for their glorified practice there, 1st of April, with their glorified scrimmage.
So a few people in the chat, including Jim Allen, ask about tight end Chris Hickman out of the 2019 class. He was a top 20 tight end. He's caught 5 passes in his career, 3 last year against Buffalo. Do you have any projection that he may get some time at tight end?
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. Especially with the Fedoni injury, he had to step up a little bit last year as well, and that obviously Austin Allen has moved on, so Travis Volkolek's going to be your starter, and I expect Chris Hickman to now be the number 2 tight end with the Thomas Fedoni injury. So yeah, like we said, unfortunate for Thomas Fedoni, but now he's got to go through another year of rehab, and he'll be back again next year. So we wish him the best, and hope he can rehab that injury, quickly.
Based on what you know of the recruiting calendar, because you live it 12 months a year, when do you expect us to have another, flood of news and activity out there? Will that be sometime in May, early June, when players visit campus more?
Well, I mean, there's more. There's another junior day this weekend as well. So, we're constantly, stay logged on to Husker Online and see, our recruit analyst Brian Munson's always working those guys, and I know he just reported a new visitor that's coming in. I didn't read the story yet, but I mean they're recruiting like dogs. I mean. So you never really know when there could be a flood. They've already had a pretty good start to this recruiting class, and this cycle is obviously it might not be another huge class that they're taking in, but they've been working on it nonstop, and coaches taking every advantage of getting out on the road and getting to know guys and extending offers. So, you never know in the recruiting game. You never know when somebody's going to pull the trigger, and so that's kind of the fun thing about being a fan of recruiting. That it never stops. It's 24/7, 365 days a year. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see. You never know. And like we've mentioned here several times, that that's the big key is getting, especially guys, out of state guys, getting them here on campus, and once they get here and they see what it's all about and everything, that gives you a leg up and a pretty good chance of landing most of those guys. So especially like those guys that don't know what to expect, don't know where Nebraska is on the map, and have to ask somebody, and somebody tells them about cornfields and all this, and they get here and they're totally shocked that it's not what anything told them it's actually like. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. That's what I get having lived now in Connecticut for 20 years. Just since it's on the East Coast, people in Connecticut figured that Ohio's just a wasteland of cornfields. And actually,
our visitor back again.
There we go.
You know what that means? It's dinner time.
It's dinner time. Oh, it doesn't mean that you were missed?
No, that's all about I'm hungry.
Well,
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
He should know the schedule by now. He should know that nothing's going to happen until 7 o'clock.
Yeah, exactly.
But we got 5 hard commits for the Huskers here for 2023. So we've done it before, and at some point down the line, we'll have Greg go through all the commits and give us another profile. I see that 3 out of the 5 from Nebraska.
Yep.
The other 2 from Massachusetts and Florida. And of course, when they were committed, we ran them down here with Greg. So if you want to check out those videos, go right ahead. But we will have plenty of time to do player profiles on the 23 class.
And I think Nebraska's got a very, very solid chance of landing the top 5 prospects in the state for this class as well. So that's something that's nice to hear for Husker fans that know how important it is to keep those in-state guys here. Especially here in recent years with some of the talent that has gone elsewhere.
Appreciate you being here, Samuel. Thank you for the kind words, and everybody else here for our Huskers show that we've done now for 61 straight weeks. So if Greg wasn't here, you guys wouldn't want to hear me on here trying to ramble through or put anything together on Nebraska football. So Greg makes this happen, and we're only here because he's here each and every week. So we appreciate that for sure. And you can catch all of Greg's work on Husker Online video right here on YouTube, or of course, just on rivalshuskeronline.com.
Yep.
And who knows, we may grab some other Nebraska folks and bring them on in here to mix it up a little bit.
Oh boy, we got some punter talk there.
We're down to the punter.
Well, we heard they brought punter, the new punter and kicker spoke with the media today on some side interviews. I wasn't in on those myself, but yeah, they were getting some praise. So it's just weird right now with a lot of new faces around there that. Sometimes people will show up and it's like, who's that? So it's going to take a little getting used to, especially like I've mentioned, that we haven't been able to see those guys out on the practice field and put a face to a number as well on some of these guys. So
have they released a depth chart?
No, they won't. They're not going to do that for spring ball. They'll come out with a roster. They call it the red team and the white team for the spring game, and the red team will be probably most of the 1s and 2s. That's kind of the way it goes. So you won't get an idea of a depth chart until you kind of see who's on the red team and who's on the white team. But that's not set in stone either. I mean, you'll have some other guys on the white team just to kind of offset obvious disadvantages to keep it competitive. But yeah, that'll be when we first kind of get an idea. But other than what we already know and what coaches are telling you about, who looks good, and you can kind of tell until you actually see it on paper. It's not that different.
Because I have seen some depth charts released this spring, including Iowa today.
Every coach is different. Coach Frost doesn't release the depth chart in the spring. So I don't think it's too early for him to, and he wants to keep competition as strong as possible, because every spot's up for grabs. That's the way they kind of like to do it.
Moonbot wants to know if there's any video from today that he can check out.
I do. I have pro day stuff that I'm just got to get to work on when we get off the air here. So, but no, we haven't been able to shoot any actual practice video ourselves. The only video that's out there is the meld they sent us a couple weeks ago, which is all their hype video stuff. So it doesn't really, it's all the artsy fartsy stuff that they use for their Husker Vision stuff that media types don't like to have. I mean, unless we're making a movie or something, So yeah, you get like one 2-second clip of Casey Thompson throwing a ball, and that's not what we need. We need more than that. But he can check it out. I'll have the pro day stuff up there. I sat there the whole time, and all the big name guys there. I shot all their reps and everything they did. So I'll get that up here tonight.
Have you heard
somebody eats?
What's that?
After somebody eats.
Well, somebody needs to eat, or you may, have a chunk out of your finger or something. You don't want that. A number of people have alluded to this in the chat, Cole being the latest. Did Casey Thompson make a comment about making 6 figures as the Nebraska quarterback?
He said something along that lines. Yeah.
Okay.
He was asked the question about the difference in the NIL between Texas and Nebraska, and his face just lit up with the opportunities here. He said it was a night and day difference between here and Texas. And I mean, we've mentioned Nebraska and NIL a lot since it started up, but Nebraska's been one of the leaders, and was ready for NIL and actually had staffers on this before it even became a thing. So yeah, Nebraska, and obviously with the following and the fan base and the donors, makes it really, really, really pretty good here for players, especially if you're the quarterback of Nebraska. You're going to have a lot of opportunities. And he did mention that, kept him really, really busy up until when spring practice started up, where he had to back away from some of these and put him on the back burner for a while so he could concentrate on football. So, there's an awful lot of opportunities. You can it's a good way to get a brand new free truck. You can just go on and on. So, if you're a football player here at Nebraska, or a volleyball player, basketball player, you have an opportunity to make a lot of money here.
Not a bad deal.
No, not at all. They make more than I do.
So without a depth chart, might be difficult to answer this question because, again, Greg can only see so much of practice, as the media is only, one per week at about 15 to 20 minutes of practice, right?
I haven't seen anything. They have not let us in at all.
Okay.
Yeah, nothing. I mean, we have to sit there and wait for them to come to us after practice. We're stuck in the stadium, and they're over in the practice facility. So, yep. Which is odd. I mean, this is the first time we've not had. Usually, we would get first 30 minutes once a week, first 45 minutes practice or so. But obviously, they've got some stuff going on there that they don't want anybody else to see. That's the easy answer I can give you on why we haven't had an opportunity to see anything.
Mark Whipple's new offense.
Yep. Must be super secret. I don't know. Because obviously they don't show us anything anyway when they let us in. So, I mean, you get 20 minutes of stretching before they even do anything most of the time. So,
Colin wants you to take a stab at the 2 safety positions and the cornerback spot opposite of Newsome.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely know Quentin Newsome's probably penciled in there right now. But, man, that's you're talking about a lot of guys, a lot of competition there. Obviously, with a lot of new faces in that room. I don't feel comfortable even predicting it right now. Because of just that reason about, what they brought in like 7 new guys in the defensive backfield. So it's kind of hard to say right now who's a front runner at any of those positions. And the only guy that we've talked to is Quentin Newsome. So yeah, right now, I don't know. I think we hear from Travis Fisher next week. So I have a little bit more of an idea then, because the last time we heard from Travis Fisher, I think it was after the second practice. And they hadn't even put pads on yet. So kind of hard to tell at this point. But we'll see. We'll see. I do know. I'll put this out there, though. I think there is a new face, incoming freshman in Jalen Gold that I think is a guy that probably going to be a guy that produces right away. I'm hearing very good things about him, and he already looks like he looks the part already. So that's good, and can't wait to see what he looks like in person. Obviously.
You can talk more Nebraska football with us. I'm trying to think who in the chat right now is on our Discord. I know that Alan's there, maybe Husker D and a few others. So talk Nebraska football, talk college football. Join our Discord. You can do that by going to Patreon. Search Mark Rogers TV on Patreon. I'll put the link in the chat, and you can go right there, sign up, and I will get you the link to join us on Discord. What that is, it's just a big chat room. So if you've never heard of Discord, it's just a big chat room, and we've got about 55 people on there, and we would like a lot more to keep that conversation going constantly, 24/7, 365.
You can always hit me up, too, with your questions as well.
Okay, I think we've hit the end of the line.
Already? Jeez.
I don't see anything else here. And most of the comments that came into the channel this week, it seems like anytime we talk about the past and we start to bring up coaches like Bo Pelini and Mike Riley, boy, that gets people fired up talking about the past. So all the questions I went through and all the comments, they were mostly comments, had to do with whatever conversation we had, just kind of going through our topic last week. At one point, we started to go through just kind of the way the program's going up and down with the last few coaches. But those were all the comments of the channel dealing with that.
Yeah, well, it's unfortunate that, the last, 7 or 8 years that that's the big topic of conversation is how bad things have been going. And usually it's the head coach that takes the brunt of that. And for good reason. For good reason, that's for sure. That's why they get paid the big bucks.
Yeah. They get paid quite a bit. Well, I don't know why. Cole's asking about O'Shawn Mathis, who committed originally to TCU and played there in 2018, and now he must still be in the transfer portal. Yeah, he is still in the transfer portal. Edge rusher O'Shawn Mathis. Yeah, he was one of the top pass rushers in the Big 12 2 years ago.
No, and Nebraska's got a good shot to land him. Actually, he's probably number one. Their number one target right now to add out of the transfer portal, and I'm not sure if I don't think he's had a chance to visit yet, but I think that is in the works. And there's definitely a possibility that Nebraska can land him.
O'Shawn Mathis, the last 3 years at TCU, 40, 44, and 45 tackles, 9, 12.5, 4 tackles for loss, 2.5, 8, and 2 sacks. So a lot of production in 36 games played.
Yeah, and that's where it helps having Brian Applewhite now on the staff, because obviously those two are very familiar with each other. So it makes it a little bit easier for a guy like that to pick Nebraska. So, yeah. And it's kind of, you know what, that makes me think too about something that Casey Thompson had said 2 weeks ago as well, about when he had gone into the transfer portal, is that he wasn't completely sure. I mean, he went to his coaches at Texas and told them that I'm thinking about going into the transfer portal. and he waited until I can't remember what game he said. It might have been the national. Yeah, I think it was the national title game. He waited until then to kind of see what other schools might be an opportunity for him. He'd already had Nebraska up there because he'd already known what the situation here was. And then, once that national title game was over and he kind of looked around and saw who needed a quarterback. And so he decided that, Nebraska's where I'm going to go. And he said he already knew that, probably, I don't know, couple weeks before he actually announced it. So kind of interesting how these guys, how their mind works. And, I think a lot of these guys don't have a plan when they enter the transfer portal, but obviously a lot of them do have a plan as well. So kind of a weird little dynamic there that just made me think of.
Folks, please help us out. And in doing so, you will help yourself out by keeping this show going, by letting people know that we're here talking Nebraska football every Tuesday at 7 Eastern, 6 Central, where it counts. There in the heartland, 6 Central every Tuesday. So be here, but also bring some folks with you. So we've got about 65 or 70 on the line. Why don't we triple that next week? Everybody brings in 3. And if you can bring in 20, do that. And again, mostly Husker fans, of course, but we've got other college football fans that just enjoy keeping up with one of the historic programs in the country. So bring in your college football fans. Just consider all the people that you talk to on Facebook and Twitter and probably a bunch of other things that I've never even heard of. They don't know that we're here. They don't know about the voice of college football. So bring them in.
We could have a contest, see who brings in the most people next week, and then Moonbot can send them a Yanty t-shirt. How about that?
Hey, Moonbot. That's a good idea right there.
Weekly prize.
We might have to go with the...
Yeah, Moonbot's going to start contributing a weekly prize to each week's winner.
We might have to go with the honor system. I don't know how we would figure out who came from where, but I like that. All right, folks. First show with the Nebraska helmet. Hopefully everyone enjoyed. I know I couldn't get it exactly where everybody could see it all the time, but there will be plenty of weeks to behold the shiny white helmet with the red end. All right, Greg.
Bot said he's down.
Look at that.
I like it.
All right, folks. And also, if you can come up with a sponsor for us, hit me up at MarkRogersTV at Gmail, sponsor for the Nebraska channel, this particular show. We would love that as well. Greg, we appreciate it. Take care of that back.
Yeah, don't have much choice, do I?
No, you don't. It kind of has to come along with you.
Well, at least I made it through today. It was kind of scary there for a little bit, especially after Pro Day was over and JoJo Doman came to speak to us. And man, I could not stand there any longer holding that camera. Every time somebody would ask another question, I'm just inside my mind just screaming, no more. And I got through that one and then went and grabbed my tripod and put my camera on the tripod to finish up the rest of them. So that worked out well. So thank God I made it through the day.
Yeah, don't you hate that feeling when you're stuck in a situation and you just, whether it's a back or your stomach or something, you don't, like I was driving home from Ohio on Monday and I slept on the couch at my sister's the night before and I just couldn't sleep. And I slept like 2.5 hours and whatever it was, I had a headache and I felt nauseous. And for some reason I had something going on with my eyes. My eyes were tearing up the whole time. And I had an 8.5 hour drive. And the whole time I'm just wanting to get there as fast as possible. Just like, get me out of this car. I don't feel well. I just want to crawl up in a bed, not be driving 80 miles an hour down the highway for the next 8 hours, but you make it through.
It is what it is. Yeah.
All right, man. Well, I appreciate you making this show.
Sounds good.
All
Hey,
right, Greg.
feeling a lot better now after
Good.
this last hour. So, hopefully we're out of the woods.
Well, you got to go chase your dog around now.
Yeah, all three of them. Yeah.
All three of them. That's right. All right, everyone. Appreciate you being here. We'll see you next Tuesday.
Sounds good.